Hey everyone, Andrew back for another Barista Basics video. So obviously I did not post a video last week and I am very sorry about that. Pardon me. Last week was kind of really busy for me, just in terms of like a lot of stuff that had to be done. And I think also as a result of that, I was really lacking in energy last week. You know, I was just feeling really kind of like lethargic. And I just was not really, like, these factors contributed to why I didn't post a video last week, and I just wanted to apologize for that because I've been really trying hard to be consistent on a weekly basis regarding Barista Basics videos, and I definitely, sorry, a mosquito was just on me, and I definitely dropped the ball last week for those reasons, and again, I'd just like to apologize about that. But to move past that and to move into today's topic, as you can tell from the title, we are going to discuss instant coffee, which is a bit, sorry, allergies have been killing me once again, unsurprisingly, and I've been having some sniffles, so sorry about that too. But this topic, instant coffee, is going to be a bit of a departure from where we've been headed recently, you know, all of these like how-to videos, because I initially started those kinds of videos, the more like interpersonal ones, because I was like, I feel like I've exhausted every single topic related to coffee. Now, clearly, this became apparent to me today at work, and I was like, I have not talked about instant coffee, which is obviously related to coffee, and I even have another idea planned, like, that actually relates to coffee planned for next week too, so I'm very excited to film that and share that with you guys next week. But yes, so a bit of a departure from what we've been talking about, but still, of course, relevant to the Barista Basics series. So, all of us basically, I think at least, have an idea of what instant coffee is. You know, you boil some water, you pour it on top of this like weird looking coffee, and suddenly you have instant coffee, as the name implies. But the process through which the instant coffee is created is actually kind of a bit of an involved process, which is the aspect that really interested me. So, instant coffee, essentially, when you buy it in two forms. You can also buy it in a liquid form, but mostly you would get it in some sort of solid state. So you'd either get it as sort of like, sorry, my nose is dripping a little bit, and it's almost gonna rain soon, so I should probably hurry up. So, instant coffee can come either in like a powder form or in this sort of like crystal form. And the way that these sort of get prepared or created is slightly different too. So both of them start by actually brewing coffee. So in order to make instant coffee, you need liquid coffee to get to that state. So you kind of are taking the beans, you know, roasting them, going through the whole process that we've discussed in the past, then actually brewing the coffee, and then taking the coffee and turning it back into a solid state. So it's kind of a funny process, but that's essentially what happens. So the way that the sort of the more crystal-like instant coffee is made is through the freeze-drying process, which essentially is where they take, for example, this would be the liquid coffee, and they freeze it, and they freeze it in such a way, I think also lowering the pressure helps with this as well, but they freeze it and then, all right, we're just gonna, okay, cool. So, obviously when you freeze something, ice is going to form. The actual water in the coffee, the hot coffee, is going to freeze and turn into ice. Now, like I said, I think this is because they decrease like the pressure in whatever vessel they do this in, but essentially the ice gets sublimated or undergoes sublimation, which, as I've come to find out, sorry, like I said, my nose is really bugging me today. Sublimation is where a solid goes directly to the gaseous state. There's no in between where it turns into a liquid. So the ice just magically turns into gas as opposed to turning into liquid to gas. And so all of these, you know, sort of events happening lead to the end result, which is sort of like this more crystal-like freeze-dried coffee. And then obviously when you pour hot water over it, when you're ready to actually consume it, you're rehydrating the coffee, and it's dissolving and yeah, not really melting, it's dissolving into the hot liquid. So that's one way. Well, so freeze-dried results in the crystals. You can also do another method called spray drying, which results in kind of the less common, more powder form. Like, you know, it's like kind of less, it's like a powder. And so this is really the most unfamiliar aspect of instant coffee to me, because I had never even heard of spray drying before. But I looked up some information about it, watched a few YouTube videos, so I'm obviously an expert at this point about it. I'm just kidding, of course, but I actually do have enough information to be able to share it. So essentially, there are kind of multiple ways that you can go about spray drying. They're all pretty similar, but have some slight differences. But the most common is the method where essentially, so imagine like a big kind of basin, like a big, you know, kind of cylinder. And liquid enters through a nozzle coming right out the top, as well as hot air is also entering kind of around where the hot liquid, where the coffee is coming out. And for some reason, having this like extremely hot air moving at such a rate, along with the hot coffee moving at such a rate, it like, for some reason, it turns it into powder. Like, it evaporates the water that is in the coffee and then just manages to leave, you know, kind of like the solute of it, you know, like the actual solid stuff. And that's the powder, which is obviously what's left behind once the water is, you know, no more. And cicadas are out tonight too. Everybody's making noise. And so that's how the powder form is made. So, you know, these are two very different processes. Literally, one of them involves no heat at all. Obviously, that means the freeze-drying method. And then one of them involves heat all the way. So it's kind of interesting how using these different processes results in different outcomes of the coffee. So obviously, freeze-dried results to the more crystalline form, whereas the spray-drying method results in the more powdery form. Now, of course, regardless of whatever form you get, the way that you prepare it is the same. You boil hot water, as I mentioned in the beginning, and you just pour it right over the granules or the powder, whatever, and it dissolves, and you have instant coffee. Now, a lot of information that I found online has also said that most instant coffees are slightly less caffeinated. Like, if you were to, I guess, take the same coffee and, you know, go through the whole process of making it instant coffee and then brewing it again versus just consuming a cup of the original coffee, it would have less caffeine in it. I guess that plays into the aspect of, you know, whichever method you use to prepare the instant coffee, there's obviously there's some parts of the coffee that are no longer staying with the final result, you know, like either that be the crystals or the powder. So I think some of the, you know, kind of stuff that isn't saved in the end is some of the caffeine too, which is probably why it is slightly less caffeinated. But it still definitely will hit the spot, of course. Now, the quality of instant coffee is also something that gets brought into question. A lot of people, you know, kind of just like stick their nose up at instant coffee and they're like, this, you know, it's not the best. And truth be told, I mean, when you're in a pinch or, you know, if you just are really pressed for time all the time and you need coffee like that, instant coffee is, of course, very convenient. But at the same time, and it's not bad per se, of course, it's perfectly fine, but compared to actually brewing coffee, you know, it's a world's difference. So to compare it would sort of be unfair, obviously, to the instant coffee, because it's not, you know, meant necessarily to be like this gourmet, you know, like super sophisticated coffee experience. It's like, oh man, I'm about to be late for work. Let me just, like, you can even fix it in your car. Like, if you just have boiling like water in a cup or whatever, you just pour some of the granules in it and you give it a good mix and you got coffee, you got some energy, right? So definitely not trying to knock it or anything, but obviously it needs to be said that instant coffee most times is not going to be as, it's not going to be as high quality, I guess, as brewing your own cup of coffee. but it still has its own merits, of course. And also, one other piece of information I wanted to include too before I conclude the video is that I saw online that also sort of, this is more popular, I think, not so much in America, but in other countries, I think specifically European countries, that they like to, instead of using boiled water, they like to use boiled milk for the coffee, so it kind of makes like a latte. I mean, well, it has milk involved, which, as we learned, makes it a latte. But I guess it's like the closest thing to an actual latte. Actually, you know, I think you can even get espresso in freeze-dried form, or as an like instant form. So I think then you would literally have like a cafe latte right there, you know, if you were to boil milk and use that with that. It would be, I mean, I'm just saying, life hacks, I guess, right? Yeah, and that was the last thing I wanted to mention. Okay, so that is it for today's video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I hope that you guys learned something. I certainly did. Spray drying locked in my head forever now. And I hope something stuck with you guys too. I also hope that you guys are doing well. I hope that you were staying safe and sane, healthy, motivated, and entertained. If you are protesting, I hope that you were staying extra super duper omegly safe, you know, of course. Always be sure to have an emergency contact, a trustworthy one at that you can call, or two, you know, in case something goes wrong, you know, because your safety is the utmost important thing. So we have to be sure to save that. And yeah, I just really hope that you guys are doing well. Again, I'd like to apologize for the lack of video last week. But I kind of, you know, gave a bit of an explanation regarding that. But, yeah, I appreciate you guys, and I hope that you were doing well. I'm unsure if I'm going to film a Everybody's Gone to the Rapture video this week. I kind of have been a little slack with that because it's been very difficult now that our ACs are installed to find some quiet time. But I will try my best to do that. Otherwise, I will see you guys next week for another Barista Basics video. And until then, I hope you take care. Bye-bye.